Hey, welcome back to another episode of Mike at the Movies, which, if I know it's been however long, 6 months, maybe longer, I apologize for that. I was getting a new camera, which I'm now recording on, so hopefully the video quality is a little bit better for you guys, and hopefully the audio still sounds okay. If you guys didn't know, I changed the name. Originally, this was going to be called Mike at the Movies, but I thought Movies with Mike sounded a little bit easier to roll off the tongue. So it's been now rebranded as I go into this second episode of Movies with Mike. So for anybody that's new here and just finding this podcast, YouTube video thing that I've got going on, I'm doing the Movies with Mike in a video format, which will be on our YouTube channel and my personal YouTube channel that will be converted into a podcast to go with the Way Late Bloomers and stuff like that. For anybody that doesn't know, the Way Late Bloomers is our main podcast and thing that we do. We do a podcast with me, my good buddy Spencer and Joey, where we just talk about our lives and really anything we want to. We also have a gaming channel, which we play some horror games and stuff up on there. Not only can you find our gaming videos, our podcasts are uploaded on there as well, but you can also find our podcasts on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. I will provide a link tree down below where you guys can check all that good stuff out. Also, come over and follow us on our social media pages. We have an Instagram and a Facebook. We post all kinds of updates there and anything behind the scenes stuff. Just come on over there if you want to stay updated. Anything that you listen to the podcast on or whatever the YouTube, any of the platforms, please like the video or leave us a review on the podcast or any of the platforms, because it really does help us. It helps us get to that area where other people can find us and stuff, and it does go a long way. For anyone that doesn't know, my first episode was, back yonder, way back when we were doing, what was it? Talked about the movies that I saw at the, Sundance Film Festival. Damn, I forgot the name of the festival. But yeah, the Sundance Film Festival. I talk about all the seven movies that I saw during that. So if you haven't checked that episode out yet, please do, because a lot of those movies are now out on streaming and VOD and things like that. So if you go back and check that out, if any of those interest you, please check them out. They're pretty good movies, and some of those I feel will slip under the radar. There's one called Resurrection with Rebecca Hall that's getting ready to come out, and I think it drops at the end of July. I don't know I'm assuming in theaters. I hadn't said anything about VOD or anything, but that's one. I think it was my number 2 on my list, spoiler alert, but I think that's one that everybody should see and check out, especially if you want something unique, original, and very, very different. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about the newest Halloween trilogy. The new Halloween Ends trailer dropped last night, which it was supposed to drop today, but it got leaked. And for anybody that knows me, knows that I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time. Michael Myers is awesome, but I'm not like one of these crazy fanatics that if you don't like the movie, I'm going to send you 50,000 death threats, which seems to be going on quite a bit lately. But I have thoughts on this new trilogy, per se, so I want to go over. I've talked about my thoughts on the other 2 movies in a couple of our podcasts and stuff. We did a Halloween special podcast that came out last October that I talked, at the time Kills just came out, and I went into a little bit of detail about Kills, but now it's been months down the road, and I'll go into detail about that. I'll go into detail more about 2018. It's more of a discussion than a review, and I want to give lastly I'll talk about my thoughts on the Halloween Ends trailer, where I think my concerns, where I might go on some rants and some tangents. So if any of that interests you, please stick around. So I guess we'll start, of course, with Halloween 2018. Now, I'll be honest with you, this was a movie I was looking forward to so much. Like, I was so hyped. And when the first trailer dropped, I was like, yes, fuck yes, I'm there. Don't care what happens. I'm going. Come hell or high water, I'm going. So a lot of build up to this movie. I've never seen so much like horror fanatics come out, especially around Halloween, who was so hyped for this movie. Now, when this movie came out, it was very middle of the road. It seems to be. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it. Not as much as Kills, though. We'll get into that. But nevertheless, this movie was still. It was very middle of the road. Now, me personally, when I first went to go see this movie, we had like a Halloween party, and I got really sick. So midway through this movie, I couldn't really enjoy it because I was very sick from all the drinking. So I went back and saw it with another friend of mine. And at the time, I did enjoy it, and I still do enjoy it. So far, this is my favorite of the two. It's not the best by any means, but it's still not the worst by any means. There's a lot of things that are... I love James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers. I think he plays a great Myers, and I have to say, I love how brutal Michael is in this trilogy. I think it tops what kind of like the style that Rob Zombie was going for in his Halloween movies. I wouldn't say tops, but it gets pretty close to that from time to time, because his Halloween 2 was pretty brutal with the kills. But this one and Kills have some pretty... I mean, most of the kills in this one are off screen, which could be a dislike for a lot of people. It didn't bother me. The thing more that bothered me was most of the pictures of the kills leaked out before the actual movie came out. So all the kills, you basically saw all the off-screen kills. But for me, it really didn't bother me all that much. Maybe because I don't know, I was into the story of the movie. Now, I will say I heard that before this movie came out that they were going to have test screenings, and they changed the ending, the original ending of the movie. I'm very curious. I've seen snippets in the trailer, and I've heard different things of what the original ending was supposed to be. And from what I can tell, this seems to be an ongoing trend throughout this trilogy, thanks to, obviously, things going on in the world and delays and whatnot and all that. But I'm still very curious to know what the actual ending for this movie would have been. The other thing in this movie that I feel... I mean, don't get me wrong. First of all, I love David Gordon Green as a director, and I love Danny McBride as an actor and as a writer. I'll be honest, when I first heard that these two guys were coming on to do a new Halloween trilogy, I was like, Danny McBride? Really? The guy from Pineapple Express and This Is the End and Eastbound and Down and all that? I was like, okay. I was like, that's interesting. But when I saw their interviews about how they really loved the franchise and kind of wanted to bring it back to the original and stuff like that, I was intrigued with what they were going to do. And I do like the writing. I think the writing's very good in this movie. I just think that there's a lot of humor moments that don't work. Like the whole, I've got peanut butter on my penis. That whole thing, to me, doesn't work. The whole character of Karen, played by Judy Greer, is kind of... she's not very likable, which I understand. She's supposed to have this trauma from her mother and stuff like that. It's just kind of a mixed bag. Like, I like more stuff about this one than I do Kills, and I don't mean to jump into Kills yet, but I'm just laying the groundwork for what's to come and trying to give examples. I just think that there's a lot of stuff overall that I do like about this movie. I think, like I said, I think Michael is great. Probably one of the best versions of Michael in this trilogy so far. I think Michael's great. I think the way this movie is shot is awesome. Like the whole one-track shot of him walking down the street, down through the awning and back through the little garage area to get the hammer and then into the house and all that stuff. I think that shot awesome. I love the way that's shot. I got to give it to the score. I think the score is incredible. I actually bought the score for this movie. John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, just awesome. John Carpenter still got it. I wish I would like to see him. I would like to see him at least direct a couple more movies, but I know he's focusing on music and stuff right now, and that's perfectly fine. But he's still got the music stuff on point, because the soundtrack is awesome in this movie. I'll be honest, at first I was a little irked that none of the main characters died. I mean, I get it, we were in for a trilogy, but at the same time I felt like one of them should have had like an ultimate sacrifice type moment, like maybe at the end when, he's down in the basement and the basement's getting ready to burn and all that stuff like that. Like maybe one of them had to sacrifice themselves to get the other two out or something like that. I get it. They don't want to kill Jamie Lee Curtis off too early because she is the final girl and all that stuff like that of this franchise. And I know they're trying to rewrite a lot of wrongs that were done in previous movies. I'm looking at you, Halloween Resurrection. But I think that overall, it's. I was looking for something like that, and we didn't get anything like that in this movie. So I felt the ending was it played the safe card, which is why I would like to know what the original ending was, because I know there was a whole fight with like Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers where they're out in the field out back doing where she had all the mannequins. I know there was a fight out there and stuff, and I don't know what came of that. So very, very curious of how this movie originally was supposed to end. Overall, I do really like this movie. I'm not somebody that hates it. And if you do like it or don't like it, that's great. Everybody's got their own opinion. But I just want to put it out right now that I don't hate this movie by any means. I just think it's good. It's good. It's not great. It's not awful. It's good. One other thing I do have to say that I really like about this movie is I like the other characters that it introduces. I like the character of Hawkins, and I like the character of Andy Matichak, the granddaughter. I think they're great additions, and I'm curious to see where they go in the future and especially how it's going to wrap up all in the end. Like I said, this was a movie I was super excited for, and I've watched it a couple times now, and while I do like it, this is one that I would still watch among like if I was either doing a a marathon of all the movies, or if I just wanted to watch this timeline, like the original, this one kills and ends when Ends comes out. And it's not one that I would throw to the wayside or anything and be like, it just didn't do it for me. And I get it, why it didn't do it for a lot of people. It's got a different flavor to it that I can't really, quite get what it is, but there's just something a little different about it. But I do like it. Like I said, overall, I do enjoy this movie quite a bit. Now, I'm going on to the one that'll probably get me in trouble. Halloween Kills. Let me just say, I don't hate this movie, but it's all right. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. To me, this feels like a middle ground chapter or a stepping stone movie to get you to the next movie, where all the payoff is going to be the next movie. And no, I'm not mad that this ended on a cliffhanger or anything of that nature. That's not what this is at all. The story was weird. I thought. I rewatched this one again last night, just before doing this, and I watched the extended cut, which I have to give props. The ending for the extended cut and some of the scenes they cut out is a hell of a lot better than the theatrical cut. The flashback sequence in this movie, probably the best part. I think they nailed that. Even the guy that played Loomis, who they put the makeup on and all that stuff, awesome. Just awesome. I think the design for the house is great. The way they made like the what do you call it? Like the way that the atmosphere was and all that, it just felt like 1978. Like something, it felt almost like the original movie in that flashback. So props to that, because to me that's the best part of the movie. The kills are also really good in this movie. Some of the kills are extended in the extended cut. You get to see a little bit more, like when he's pushing the guy's eyeballs out and all that stuff like that. You see more of that. And there's scenes that are extended that I thought worked really well. Like in the flashback sequence, there's a scene where Lonnie is actually running and he first sees Michael behind the bush, and Michael just kind of stalking, and he just dips out. So, and that added tension, because he goes around the bush, nothing's there, and so they cut all that out, and it just cuts to the part where he's laying on the sidewalk and Michael shows up right there, and that's it. Which I still like the scene. I think the scene's really good. That added scene of him behind the bush and all that stuff, to me just builds a little bit more tension. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that say I didn't understand this movie or didn't know what it was going for. All I can say is that I got the movie. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and I don't think it's what I thought it was going to be, which I know is weird, because, I mean, I know that when you go into a Halloween movie, a lot of people are expecting, Michael and Carnage candy and all that stuff like that, but I just felt like the story was lacking a lot in this movie. Like, it didn't have, like, the whole... I get it, they wanted to have, like, Lori, Karen, and then we're in the hospital. So they kind of gave a backseat to them, so that way the legacy characters of Tommy and Lindsay and all of them could come into play. I get all that. And it's not so much the acting in this. I think the acting is really good. I think it's the dialogue in this movie that kind of is just cringe to me. There's so many just those moments in this movie. So yeah, I have to say, the writing on this one is a negative, where I felt the writing was a ton better in the first movie. I mean, I know they're written by the same people, but I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was because they did a bunch of rewrites, or if it was due to it being delayed, or what it was. I know this movie also had reshoots. But the whole dialogue thing of some of the stuff Tommy Doyle says, and the whole, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna get you. You're mine, and evil dies tonight. All that stuff. I'm like, okay, let's tone it down a few notches. Okay, it's a lot of. I mean, some of it is the acting, but a lot of it is more of the writing. So I blame more of the writing than I do the acting. They're just trying to do the best that they got with the script that they got. So I understand that. The whole middle sequence with all this hospital stuff, to me, that has nothing to do with the movie. It's just weird and out of place. Like the whole hospital sequence where the whole riot happens and you get the 50,000, evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight. It's like, okay, all right, we get it. We get it. That and the whole thing with the other patient. It's like, come on, really? It's like this dude has the other patient. First of all, in the beginning of the movie, they show Michael and this other patient on the TV as the two patients that broke out. And you cannot tell me that this town that's been cursed for this amount of time does not know the stature and probably what Michael Myers looks like. Like, I know he's wearing a mask, but you cannot tell me that they don't know the stature of this guy. I mean, really? The other patient that they're like, yeah, this is Michael, this is him. The dude's got the stature of Danny DeVito. I mean, you should know that that's not Michael. There's no way. In what realm is that Michael? I mean, granted, I know he was taken to jail and the asylum for God knows how many years, maybe packed on a few pounds, but again, they just showed the picture of him. Probably with their names and stuff. If they did, I missed that, but probably, I'm sure they had their name. These are the two, they even say their names on the news. These are the two patients that they haven't found yet. That just bugged the crap out of me. Then you have this huge riot ensuing in a hospital, or going after the wrong guy, which I get it. I know what they were going for. It was supposedly this so-called message about mob mentality and how when you're that way, you'll do things that you never would normally do and stuff like that. I get all that. But I feel like if that was the message they were going to send, they could have done it in a different way. Because it's like, as soon as this guy dies, like, oh, that wasn't him. As soon as the dude jumps out the window, everybody's just like, oh, it wasn't him. Okay. Anyway, I know what I've read, there's a lot of lore to what people are saying about Michael in the window, how he wants to, look out his sister's window and all that stuff. And I've heard that explanation of that is going to pay off in ends and all that stuff like that, which it very well might be. So I'm not even going to touch on that. I mean, I just think that is a cool thing. Talk about how the more he kills, the more he transcends and all that stuff like that. Because that's the thing. It is cool to know about him, but it's also cool to not know about him. You know what I mean? Like, I like the whole aesthetic of Michael, like from the original movie of, is he a man? Is he supernatural? Is he just pure evil? Or what is he? No one knows what he is. That's why they call it It. He's the shape, because no one knows what he really is. So I think this whole supernatural, if you want to call it that, angle on the whole him looking out his sister's window and all that stuff like that, if they decide to go more into that in Kills, I wouldn't mind that, because it's a cool explanation that I think could have a really cool payoff if it's done correctly. I want to talk about the couple that moved into Michael's house. I like them. I think they're great characters. And I do enjoy their dialogue and stuff like that. But the thing that got to me after so long, it's Big John, Little John. Big John, Little. Every time they talk to each other when they're upstairs. Big John, Little John. Big John, Little John. Big John, Little John. Okay. Again, it's one of them things that I feel like it's a little bit overplayed where you're like, all right, okay, I get to it. I get it. And then, of course, the whole controversy came out after that about how Michael is apparently a homophobe because he killed a gay couple in this movie. Look, real quick. Based on, out of the 12 movies that are out there in this franchise, when has he ever gave a shit who he kills? He's just going to kill you. If you're in the way, he's going to kill you. I mean, granted, he killed a kid in the 2018, which is kind of shocking to me. And hell, we honestly thought he was going to kill a baby, but he didn't, but it led you to believe it. So, why? Why? That's just stupid to me. No, he's not homophobic. He's a serial killer. He don't care who the hell you are. White, black, blue, purple, gay, straight, whatever. He don't care who you are. If he's going to kill you, he's going to kill you. So when I saw that, I was just like, okay. All right, whatever. Again, I want to talk about the original ending, which is in the theatrical cut, which is in the extended cut, sorry. Thankfully, they put the real ending on this one, on the home release, unlike they did for 2018. The original ending to this makes, to me, I like the way, because it kind of bookended the first movie and it bookended this one to where we assumed it was going to start and probably bookend the final movie. Where the original movie ended, they were all in the back of the truck and it zoomed into the knife, and that's where it cut out. So then when this one starts, it zooms back out of the knife, or it was supposed to zoom back out of the knife and start the movie. That was supposed to be the thing. Same with the ending. The ending zoomed into the knife and of Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis, if you guys don't know the original ending, which I'm sure most Halloween people do, it's essentially the same ending that the theatrical cut was, except for there's like maybe 20, 30 more seconds added on where Karen's laying dead, her phone's ringing, and then you see Jamie Lee Curtis on the phone. Obviously, you hear Michael pick up the phone because you hear him breathing on the phone, and then she just says, "I'm coming for you." And then it shows this long shot of her walking out of the hospital with a knife, and it zooms in on the knife, and boom, it ends. Such a better ending, in my opinion. The ending of him where she's just lying dead, and then he's just looking out the window, and it just, boom, cuts to black. I was like, it just ended, like, it didn't feel like that was the actual ending. Which, again, I'm wondering, I'd like to know the reasoning of why they changed so much stuff about the movies. Like, I'd like to know, like, why. I mean, I know with COVID and I know with delays and all that stuff that I'm sure obviously had a huge factor in it. But I would like to know why they went back and did a lot of the things that they did. Especially for ends, and I'm going to get into that when I get to ends, but I just would like to know the reasoning of why they went back and did so much. Like, if the movie was done, why feel the need to go back and reshoot all this and retouch on this? And this movie was delayed for a year, and it's like they did stuff within that year, and it's like, well, why? And granted, I knew at the time they probably knew that Ends was going to be delayed, or obviously it was going to be delayed because this one was delayed. So I don't know. It's just a lot of weird stuff to me in this trilogy. It's a lot of stuff that's not cohesive, and I think it would have worked out better if they would have done the original plan where they were going to shoot them back to back. But at the same time, if you did that, it might have went into the whole Halloween 4 and 5 thing, where 4 I actually really love. 5 is, I don't hate it, but it's a little, it's kind of, but where that one was rushed into production because of the success of 4. And I don't know, so it could have fell into that. I don't know, because obviously it's doing what it's doing now, and so we'll never get to know what that was like. But there's a part of me that's curious if they were filmed back to back, how that would have changed. Because I'm assuming, from what I've heard, they had the scripts done for both this one and the first one. So they were getting ready to film them back to back, but they wanted to wait to see if the first one would be successful. So I get that. Studio, money, blah, 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 Hollywood. Again, I got to give it to the score in this movie. Again, John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, I think they nailed it. So I think they just nail it with the score. Again, I didn't buy the soundtrack for this one like I did the first one, but I need to because I really enjoyed this one. Again, I don't want to take away from what I've said. I know I've had a lot of negatives with this movie, but I stand by what I said. I think this is a brutal Michael, and the fact that he just doesn't give a fuck and all that jazz. And I think the kills are really good. Granted, you get to see a little bit more of them in the extended cut, but I think that overall, I think I love the Michael in this trilogy. I think it's like he's literally just hit that fuck it, and it's like, and just whatever's in his way, he's I feel like he has an end game, because it's not Laurie, but I feel like he has an end game. A lot of people says it was to get home. So I'm curious to see where that's gonna go and ends, what they wrote for his end game. So it's gonna be interesting. One other gripe I have real quick about this movie and 2018. Why does everyone have to unmask him? Why? I don't get it. There's so many shots in the first in 2018 where they do it good to where you don't see his face and all that stuff. I mean, you see pretty much by the end of it, they hit every angle so you know what he looks like. But I think it takes away from the mystique of who he is when he doesn't have his mask on. And everyone is they just want to unmask him every time. It never fails. Like in this movie, when the girl's getting, which I get it, if you're panicking, you're going to go for whatever you can. Lindsay tries to take his mask off. Doesn't get it all the way off. But the ending, Karen takes it off. So he's walking down these, but granted, they keep it where it's like hidden in the shadows and all that stuff, so you don't really see it. I mean, you do see it, but it's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I don't understand. Why, just leave the man's mask on. Honestly, that's part of his being. That's who he is. That's his identity. That's why I feel like he's such an icon on top of other things. Stop fucking with the mask. Just leave it on. I mean, just leave it on. You don't need 50,000 shadowed shots of his face and all that stuff like that. Just leave the mask on. Please leave it on. All right, and now, last night, I'm going to try to have this video up Friday. So, the trailer was originally, for Ends, was supposed to drop on Wednesday, which is when I'm recording this, but it actually dropped Tuesday night, thanks to somebody who leaked out the trailer. So, with that being said, I'm sure every Halloween person has already watched the trailer for this. I like the trailer. Let me just start off by saying I like the trailer because it doesn't show too much. It doesn't really tell what the story is, and it doesn't tell what the story is, and it doesn't give away too much, which Kills gave away a lot, and the second trailer for the first Halloween gave away a pretty good amount. which is why I hate trailers most days now. But most of the time I can't avoid seeing them. I go to the movies a lot. But here's my gripe. I know there's a synopsis that I'm going to read in case anybody missed it with the actual trailer. But here's my one gripe about Ends so far. After the delays and everything, originally this whole trilogy was supposed to take place in one night, which makes sense to me. Because of the delay and stuff of kills, and because of COVID, they decided, now that this movie is going to take place 4 years later, after kills. Why? Why? And apparently they're going to incorporate COVID into this somehow. Again, why? Most of the time, when I go to the movies, I like to go somewhere that doesn't have the events of whatever's going on in the world. I like to be taken to another world and entertained by that world. So I don't like a lot of political things and current events shoved into a movie just because. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but it really feels that way. My point being is you have the magic of a movie. You don't have to have time go by for 4 years. Granted, okay, let's say Kills ended 3 years ago, and you didn't get to film the movie until another 2 or 3 years down the road. Guess what? With movie magic, it can take place in the same night. So I don't understand why this is 4 years later. That has irked me since I first heard this. I don't understand it. If anybody does, please let me know. So I'm open to all kinds of discussion. I don't get it. I think it's just weird. Because, I'm sure they're going to explain it in the movie, but where did Michael go after he killed Karen? Did he just leave the house? Because obviously they're going to come up there and find her body. So where did he go? Where's he been for 4 years? How come Laurie didn't go track him down right away? Same with Andy Matichek's character. How come they didn't go just track him down right away? Which goes back to what I'm saying, which made more sense if it was in the same night. Am I excited for this movie? Kinda. I was so let down by Kills. I'll be honest with you. I was so let down by Kills that I'm going into this one cautiously optimistic. Because at this point, they could throw whatever at me at this point, and I don't know what it would. I don't know what it would be. But I am going to read the synopsis for anybody that didn't know. There was a synopsis out on the official Universal's YouTube page who dropped the trailer. They didn't know, and this is the official synopsis. 4 years after the events of last year's Halloween Kills, Laurie's living with her granddaughter, Allison, and is finishing writing her memoir. Michael Myers hasn't been seen since. Laurie, after allowing the specter of Michael to determine and drive her reality for decades, has decided to liberate herself from fear and rage and embrace life. But when a young man, Corey Cunningham, is accused of killing a boy he was babysitting, it ignites a cascade of violence and terror that will force Laurie to finally confront the evil she can't control once and for all. I don't know about you guys, but that synopsis just confused the hell out of me later. That confused the hell out of me even more than what I already was. What? So, now I've heard speculation already, and I don't think that they would do this, but it's hard to tell because it's, like I said, they could do anything at this point. I've heard speculation that they're going to pull a Friday the 13th Part 5, which it's going to be an imposter Michael, which I don't think that they would go that route because that would piss everybody off. Everybody off. And you see how successful doing a movie was that Michael wasn't in, which is Halloween 3. You see how well that worked out. Which I like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I think it's great and underrated. That's a whole other tangent I could go on. But anyway, So this could go all kinds of ways. Who's the Corey guy? Granted, I know we haven't seen the movie, but who's this Corey guy? Is he going to be somebody that Laurie and Allison have to end up protecting while the town goes on their evil dies tonight and rant all over again and all that stuff? I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know where this movie's going to go. Because where's Michael been? Granted, we saw in the trailer that it's Laurie and Michael. Essentially, it's only a minute and like 17, 18 seconds is the whole trailer. It's more of a teaser than an actual trailer. Maybe when the actual... I know this is an official trailer, but to me this is more of an official teaser than an actual trailer. So maybe when an actual trailer comes out that has more of some story beats, we'll understand it a little bit more. But for right now, I am very confused. I don't know who this Corey is. I get it. We're not supposed to know until we see the movie. But how does this tie into Michael and what's been going on in the previous two movies? Again, I know this movie was, again, with the reshoots and all that stuff like that, but I would like to know what the original intent for the three movies were. You know, most people, when they sit down to do a series of movies, they will map the whole spectacle out. Like, if you look at the Russo brothers who did Infinity War and Endgame, two huge, massive, and completely different movies. I completely get that. But they had to sit down and figure out what their entire Endgame was going to be, no pun intended, what it was going to be, how it was going to unfold, and what was going to happen. I would like to know what their actual Endgame was for this trilogy. Like, when they first sat down to do this. For example, when they did the first movie, the 2018, I would, right then and there, I would like to know what their final idea was for the final movie. And I don't know how many times that has changed between kills and ends now. How many times stuff has been rewritten, reshot, all that stuff. Made up on the spot, whatever you name it. Plus, Jamie Lee Curtis said something, I think, earlier in the year that was it this year? I think it was earlier in the year that she said Halloween Ends is going to piss off a lot of people. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Kills was very divisive. Very, very divisive. Probably one of the most divisive horror movies I've ever seen. It really... I made this example the other day when we were talking on the podcast about how normally Star Wars is super divisive, and it leads to a lot of toxic fandom. Sadly, that is bled over into the horror community, especially with this Halloween trilogy. Something about this new trilogy, if you didn't like it, you're the worst person on the face of the earth. You should kill yourself. Kill your family, everything else. I've seen some of the comments that has been made to certain YouTubers and stuff that like, just because they like the movie, but they didn't give it a overly glorified rating. They weren't like, this is the best fucking thing ever. Because it's not. I like the first one. I like 2018 a lot. But it's not my favorite. I think Kills is okay. I don't hate it. I think Kills is okay. But it's not great. Granted, I did see somebody the other day thinking that Kills would become a cult classic, and a lot of people agreed with that. I hope that's the case. I like movies that become cult classics. But I just don't know where this trilogy is going anymore. Thanks to everything that they've redone, reshot, rewrote, I don't know what the end game is. It's very unclear. I'm hoping this movie will tie all three movies together. Technically four, if you count the original. Because they even say in the trailer, their saga ends here. I think Laurie needs to go out with a super badass swan song style hero's ending. That way, they can tie up the whole Laurie Strode angle. And if they continue on making Halloween movies, they can take Michael wherever they want. Which they kind of did in this. It wasn't really ever about Laurie. He was never really going after Laurie. But with this, I think, if they do that, he'll have free game to do whatever. I like Michael in Haddonfield. I think that's awesome. But you can have other stories in Haddonfield. And maybe Michael can go elsewhere and then come back to Haddonfield. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there because I really don't know. I just think it would be... I would like to see more Halloween movies. Don't get me wrong. Because like I said, I love Halloween. I'm a huge lover of the franchise. Granted, it's huge roller coasters of ups and downs. I even enjoy some of the bad movies. And there's some there's some duds in there. I just think that killing off Laurie will allow the freedom to let Michael go wherever they want to take him next. They can come up with a whole different original story and do something entirely different. Granted, I know a lot of like Halloween purists and stuff may not like whatever direction they go and whoever the final girl would be. I mean, I would even be cool with Allison coming back to be like the new like maybe like a Loomis type character who's going after Michael, not necessarily to have that same thing that we've already got where he's constantly hunting down Allison, because we've already got that, but like something where maybe she's the one hunting him down, which is kind of what probably this one ends is going to be. But even if they don't do anything with her character, I would just like to see where they could take him after this movie, like the different things they could... I mean, I think there's tons of different things they can come up with. Same with, like, I mean, I know that granted they took Jason out of Crystal Lake for Manhattan, and that didn't work out too well, but still, point being, it would be interesting to see him in a different setting. And I'm not saying you have to change in setting entirely. Like, if you do a bunch of different movies, have some in Haddonfield, have some elsewhere. You know, just mix it up a little. That's all I'm saying. Just try to mix it up as best as you can. But I think Laurie's death needs to be, like I said, this huge heroic swan song, just a real hero's death. Like, make it count for something, because you know we've been with her all these years now since the first Halloween. So her death needs to mean something, and it needs to have this actual closure and final conclusion to it. Please don't do a Halloween Resurrection. That's all I'm saying. Don't do a Halloween Resurrection. We're just like, oh, okay. See ya. But my overall thoughts is, I like the trailer. I'm confused of where they're going due to the synopsis that we got, and the fact that they are time jumping at 4 years, and we're going to introduce COVID and all these real world problems into it. Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm going to be there night one when it opens. I just don't know how I'm going to feel. Like I said, I left Kills so mixed. And the more I've thought about it, I've only seen Kills 3 times. I watched it at the theater. I watched it once when it first came out in 4K, and I just rewatched it for the third time last night. It's still not my favorite. It didn't grow on me. Maybe over time it will. And maybe once all 3 of these movies come out, you could watch the original 2018 Kills and Ends all in this one big, huge saga-style way, marathon it that way. And maybe it'll play out better that way. Even though, granted, I think it would have played out better if Ends would have taken place in the same night like the original, like the first 2 Kills in 2018 did, because it would have been a conclusive story, like a what do you call it, an ongoing story. Like, it didn't have this huge time jump in the last movie where you're just kind of like, okay. But nevertheless, maybe if you watch all 4 of them, or hell, even just these 3, maybe once you see them back to back to back, it'll be a huge conclusive story, and it'll be things that are missing that are finally answered and stuff like that, and maybe that'll make the whole journey, it'll pay off the entire journey. Because I'm sure that there's plenty of stuff that hasn't been answered that maybe will be answered in Ends, and I hope that's the case. I'm just hoping for a completed story with a nice, like, maybe with some arc from some characters. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm just on the fence. I hope that it's great. I hope this is the best of the 3 of them. I hope this one comes in swinging full force and knocks everything out of the park. I really do. But I'm going in with tempered expectations, because, like I said, they were pretty solid for Kills. Just because I loved 2018 at the time, I thought it was great. I was so on that pumped up hype train of 2018 that I was so ready for Kills. And then after Kills, I was like, I don't know. So I know I might be in the minority on that, because like I said, a lot of people, well, like I said, Kills was really diversive. It was, you loved it or you hated it. And I'm in the middle of the road. I feel like there's more people that are in the middle of the road. But like I said, I didn't hate any of these movies. I really liked 2018, and I thought Kills was okay. Ends, we'll see. I might do a full like discussion on Ends when it comes out, wrapping up the entire trilogy and all that stuff. I just never have done a standalone video on the new trilogy since it's came out, Kills or 2018. I've never done like a thing on that. I've discussed it with like Joey and Spencer on the podcast and stuff like that, but I've just never talked about it in full and got like all my thoughts out there. I've got my thoughts out there to other people, and you've heard like little nuggets of it and stuff on the podcast, but never like fully in detail. So that's why I just wanted to do a video talking about three of them, because like I said, I love Halloween, but Laurie Strode is not my favorite final girl. Sidney Prescott is, but I appreciate what Jamie Lee Curtis has brought to that character, what legacy she's left and all that stuff. I think she's a great actress, and she just nailed that part. So, but that is my thoughts on this trilogy thus far. Like I said, when Ends comes out, I'll probably I might try to do another Movies with Mike thing discussing how I feel about the trilogy as a whole, and what that movie, if that movie did satisfy everything or if it didn't, yada yada yada. With that being said, I do have more of these planned on coming out. There's two movies in particular that I plan on doing for this. One is The Lodge. Thank you, Caroline, for the recommendation. I absolutely love that movie, so that is one. And another one I want to do is a little gem that I've only seen once, but I'm very curious to dive into it and talk about it. It's called The Black Coat's Daughter. That's another one that I'm curious. That's another one that I'm really excited to talk about and really just dive into the meat of that one, because that one's kind of diversive too for the people that have seen it. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of Movies with Mike. Well, again, want to thank Joey and Spencer for allowing me to do this, have like an offshoot thing where I'm doing this on the side. Hopefully, me and Spencer will be getting together and doing an episode of this for The Thing that was discussed. John Carpenter's The Thing is one of his favorite movies, and it's one that we would love to discuss on here. So hopefully we're going to dive into that really soon. I think Joey is going to Iceland in August, so I think that's when we're going to try to get together to do that, so we can keep the content coming out for you guys. We're hopefully going to record a couple more episodes of the podcast before he leaves, so I can get those out. Same with some gaming videos. I'm still in the middle of currently editing some gaming videos and waiting for Joey to send me the other one that has all three of us for the first time playing together. But thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you don't know, we are called the Way Late Bloomers. I'm Mike. I'm just doing this like spin-off thing. This is a little segment I do called Movies with Mike. But we're called the Way Late Bloomers. It's myself, my good friend Spencer, and my good friend Joey. And we have a podcast where we just talk about life, tell stories, anything in general. You can find that on our YouTube page, as well as any other platform that you guys listen to podcasts on. Also on our YouTube page, we play some horror games. Currently in the middle of a game called From the Darkness. I think there's a couple more parts to that to come out, and hopefully the next one on deck will be Hellseed, and that'll be the first game with all three of us featured in it. The other ones, it's just been me and Joey, because Spencer couldn't be there at the time, but now this one, hopefully that should be the next one up on deck. Again, please go check out and follow our Instagram and our Facebook page for a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff and updates. If you like any of our stuff on YouTube, please subscribe, give us a like, comment. If you like the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast and give us a rating, because like I said, it really does help us out and gets us up on those lists where more people can find us. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who stuck around and been so patient with all of us through everything through lack of uploads and all that stuff. Life is pretty crazy right now, and I'm finally just now getting around to doing this one, but I got the camera and stuff now, so hopefully, I'm hoping tonight or tomorrow I'll be able to take notes for, damn it, I just said it, the Lodge, and then hopefully be able to shoot another one and have it up pretty soon. So, thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see you on the next one, and take care, guys.